First, we're going to let it roll, and then you're going to tell us about Janet actually created this. Yes, all three will play.
When any single node moves, every other node is affected. And I came down one day to meet a friend who does a lot of meditating on this idea of meaning of life. And we lay down in the grass underneath it. And I closed my eyes. And then when I opened them, I looked up and I thought, it's as if I can see the sky breathing. Mm-hmm. So these are the patterns and choreography of dynamic movement that is happening all the time around us, but our eyes can't see it. And the sculpture becomes a way for us to see it, a way for us to have a moment to notice. The actual form you're looking at, the three voids you see, are referencing the three mountains, the Tremont or Tremont Street, the Tri-Mountain that was cut down to create the land under your feet. And the piece is attached to a building where John Adams had his office when the water lapped upon there. That was the original seawall. So it's reminding us of our human ability to transform our environment. And it's not a recent thing. It's something that many generations of people living right here have been transforming their environment. And when I started, I might have done 200 different versions and sketches. I was looking at the old highway that was buried and tracing the lanes in the sky and looking at the colors of that green monster and the rust that seeped down from its creases and crevices. And the white lines that you see are a fiber that is 15 times stronger than steel. There we go. Science and art. I'm happy to answer any questions. It was meant to just be a moment to just share without words, but now I'm here, so.
The first question, Janet, is,
yes.
Is this bring meaning to your life when you done this, when you discovered this, the time you spent in Asia, and you started doing these sculptures, did this give a different meaning to your life?
Well, I'm having great fun with it. Everything else is icing, right? I think sharing it is adding meaning to my life. Going around, I'm about to open a piece in Hong Kong. I'm about to leave that will attach to the Peninsula Hotel and swoop down over the street to sort of, here in Boston over the park, that's inviting you to have a moment of rest. But in the middle of a busy city, there are very few opportunities for that. And so I do think that adds meaning to my life, being able to give something but really the art is about that experience, the moment that you have when you are underneath it.
So Janet, I have a question that's a little more philosophical, and in a way, I want to make a I want to make a rather bold statement, which is engineering and science and all of that stuff. In many ways, is about survival, and survival is part of our program, which is no different than animals. So I think, Jerry spoke very eloquently about the fact that, weapons and hunting down beasts more easily meant there would be no beasts left for people who didn't have that tool. And therefore, you could classify the kind of behavior that we do at MIT mostly as part of our evolutionary fitness of building better machines to control nature better, and, it's part of our program. Art falls in a different kind of situation, and in a way, a bold statement that I would like to make is that perhaps art is what distinguishes us from the rest of the life's kingdoms, where art is about meaning. Art is not about survival. Art is about some other kind of level of existential crisis, if you wish, that humans uniquely have. And even if you look at the animal world, fish will basically make this absolutely gorgeous house for mating, and you'll see these incredibly intricate patterns that they build over weeks. And there's a function to that. There's mating, there's mate selection, stuff like that. For humans, art is a little different. So as an artist, I'm wondering, how do you perceive the rest of us going about our business, inventing, more deadly weapons? And how do you see this culmination, if you wish, of human life form into something that's not necessarily for a purpose?
One piece at a time. My daily practice may look much more like your practice than you'd imagine, right? The calculating the fibers and the gravity and, the ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene that is the tether of the Mars rover is what I'm using to hold this in place, and calculating the wind loads, being prepared for a hurricane, being prepared for every level of stress that a skyscraper has to rise to, I need to rise to in order to have a stamp and be allowed to build it, because safety, people's lives are at stake. So then I would say it's a surprising resonance when you talk about survival and human technology to survive, that when I look for art materials, this is made of knotted netting. This is what humans created to survive, to eat. And that's why it really appeals to me. It's the most basic urge to survive. And the first people who taught me to do that were in India. And I guess Rodrigo's referring, I was a painter, and I went on a Fulbright to India to teach painting and shipped all my paints there, and they got lost along the way. And there I was. I had promised the American Embassy to give exhibits, and they had rented galleries around the country, and I had no materials at all. And I was just stuck.
It is about survival.
It was about survival, literally, right? And I learned from the fishermen who, as I started sketching these shapes that I wanted to make, and they were teaching me, they're like, but the fish will get through. Literally, they just didn't understand how to take something beyond the survival instinct. It didn't make any sense to them. So it is this innate human quality, I think, that we are striving for something beyond survival, to add meaning, something that means more. So.
Any other questions?
It's okay if you want the techie, it weighs, only 2,000 pounds. It stretches 600 feet. Yeah. The moment load at the top point is 100,000 pounds.
Wow.
And it looks as if it's just touching the skin of the buildings, the facade, but actually it's piercing the facade, going through the windows, and then it's gripping a hold of the steel core of the skyscrapers because of this immense wind load on a piece that is a span of 600 feet. Nice.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, thank you.